The sun was shining, it was warmer, so let's go to a record shop in Lillestrøm.
bussterminal.
So, after a bus trip that seemed to last forever, but did in fact last 1 hour, we are at Platesjappa in the town of Lillestrøm. And as you can see, there are records right away. There's even cassettes stuck on a door. And these steps go down to some basement. And we have more boxes and box sets that then you can throw a stick at. Prog Psych, which I'm sure Jack would have liked me to have looked through, but I didn't. Sorry, Jack. And they also sold stereo components and record players, and downstairs they even had some old secondhand stuff. There's some patches for those who want to show allegiance to bands on jackets. There were a lot of heavy metal CDs here, and other types of music that I didn't really recognize what was. Nice t-shirt section. Sorry. I don't know of any store in Oslo with lots of rock t-shirts. Certainly not one that also sells records. And there were baseball caps with band names on them. So yeah, lots of stuff to get stuck into in this interesting store. And there was, as you can see, a guitar section as well, with some beauties over there, reminding me of the guitar my dad got me, which unfortunately got stolen when my house in Denmark got burgled. All these are heavy metal CDs. So Lillestrøm, heavy metal kind of town. And yeah, over here on the wall we have new records, and then again heavy metal section in the old vinyls there. I could have spent a lot of time here, but yeah, nice vibe in here. A lot of people coming in while I was here. And when did I arrive? Around 12:30, 1 o'clock on a Friday. So a few people did make their way in. Of course, whenever I'm in a record store, I immediately need to see what they have as far as Rolling Stones go. That is something Morten always tries to remember to do. They even had a box here that Jack Vinyl Martini was showing in his very well put together Rolling Stones tag. The Rolling Stones tag that he was nice enough to do, which I try to, get the ball rolling. And when I made that Rolling Stones tag, yeah, it's this one. He had that one with the glitter on it and the T-shirt in it, I think. It cost 500 kroner. That other one, Story, was much more expensive. What section was this? Oh yeah, this was records that hadn't been sorted yet, so relatively new arrivals. There was a mixture of Norwegian stuff and old, and you see Genesis there, and lots of other stuff. And there were quite a lot of talking and people having nice conversations and music, so that is why I'm talking above this. And yeah, didn't see anything here, but as you'll see, oh yeah, I did, but I bought that in Stockholm, so I'm not buying it again. Nope. Yeah, so he said, oh, you needed to go down to the basement, which is, something that should immediately start warning, klaxons going off in your head, when anyone tries to get you down to their basement. No, but yeah, as you can see, a lot of CDs. And yeah, I did see one or two CDs down here that were tempting. But I thought, no, if I'm gonna start looking at these, I'll be here all day. So, but in the end, I did grab one, and I'll show you that in the end of this. After these scenes, lots of Norwegian CDs here, and there was a drum kit, as you can see. I wish I had a drum kit again. Haven't played drums in many years. This was the 7 inches that I found. There was, this section, and I couldn't really find any. Well, they had a heavy metal single box upstairs. But yeah, and I just looked at some 12 inches to satisfy those in the vinyl community who like the old 12 inches there. There were one that I thought, oh, is this Aha? But no, it was from that other Timothy Dalton James Bond film. That one. Yeah. So today I headed on the bus as I showed you, and I traveled to the town of Lillestrøm, which is just east of Oslo, and I went to Platesjappa, which is Norwegian and means the record shop. Some of you may remember, if you've followed me for a while, that around more or less this time last year in March of 2025, I actually went to Lillestrøm. That's when I became aware of that record shop, but I didn't go into it because like 2 houses up the street there's a pub, and I went there for a record fair in that said pub. Few things are happening in my existence next week, which I'm not looking forward to. And yeah, I'm not going to dive too much into that right now. So one of the reasons I went there was because of that. And I didn't really go there intending to buy records, which is, something rather stupid to say when you are traveling to a town specifically for a record shop. But I felt it was a while since I filmed a little bit of a travel and a place I hadn't been to. So took the opportunity to go there. I wonder if that place moved, because I had the distinct feeling that it was in a building just next to the bar. Yes, last year, but maybe I'm remembering incorrectly. But like I said, one house further down, that's where the place was, and it also sort of doubled as a bit of a guitar shop, as you might have seen. So, what did I pick up there? Because clearly I wouldn't make this video if I didn't buy any there. Well, that was my intention, but as you could see in that basement, there was enough CDs, and I didn't have the patience to look very closely at any of that. But I did see something that caught my eye, and it was this one. So this is Anja Garbarek. Some of you know that I made a couple of videos about her earlier. 30 years ago, this coming fall, it'll be 30 years ago, since I bought my first CD by Anja in Aarhus in Denmark. And I believe that was her second album, Balloon Mood. And this is actually her first one. It's called Velkommen In, which means welcome or welcome in. It's in Norwegian, and it's from 1992. So when I brought this up to the guys there, really nice guys, by the way. More about that in a second. He kind of looked at it, and I said, "What are you charging for this?" And he looked at it, and he said, it's a little bit scratchy. Probably play okay. I haven't tested it yet I can't charge you for this. You can have it. So he gave it to me. So I mean, this isn't going for what I would call silly money on Discogs. I think the lowest priced ones are like, I don't know, was it 50 pence or something like that? Obviously, if I could find a vinyl of this one time, that would be cool. I think there's one for sale on Discogs around the €70 mark or something like that. But very happy to have this. It was a nice thing of them, nice thing that they did. And I struck up a bit of a conversation. I asked when I got in there if it was okay for me to film, and you should. That's nice. We don't mind our record shop coming up on the social media there, and So I looked through the bins, and some prices were surprisingly low. A lot of fine and dandy second-hand 1980s stuff around $15, sort of, I don't know, €12, £10 a mark. Some of the newer stuff, well, some of it was a little bit expensive, but then again, some of it was priced lower than I would have found it in Oslo. So they seem to have a fairly good balance in there. That basement, like I said, it was, literally ground to wall CDs. Quite a few vinyls in the corner there of sort of, Scandinavian stuff, Swedish, Danish, surprising a lot of Danish there actually, and older Norwegian stuff. But there was so much, and it was like at a height when this old back wouldn't be too happy about looking at it. And upstairs, like I said, it was the bins were mixed, new and secondhand. And if you are in Lillestrøm and you like your heavy metal, I think you should really go there. They had tons of brand new and really wide selection of bands and everything of heavy metal on CD there. Really quite a bit. So now, of course, I didn't ask, but apart from some small crates with lots of really quite old singles, I didn't really see much in the way of what I would call sort of upmarket collectible interesting singles in there. But some record stores, even secondhand ones, have lots. Some don't have any at all. So maybe that's... So did I get anything other than that CD? Yes, I did. So I've wanted this for a while now. And I actually think a little bit... Well, I didn't... If I hadn't bought it, I would have saved much more. But I found this at a lower price on Discogs, but when you factor in shipping and the customs charges here in Norway and the VAT, well, then I actually saved money. So, and I saved money compared to like iMusic and Platesjappa as well, which I don't think they have it in stock anyway. So, anyway, I keep saying anyway. This is Simple Minds with Neapolis, and this is a record store day. I can't see, but it says 25th anniversary. So I'm thinking 2023 of Neapolis. So there you go. This was Simple Minds' 11th studio album. And after the, let's call it the stadium rock era, which I guess, started around Alive and Kicking, and you went on with those tracks on the next albums like Belfast Child and Biko and all that stuff. And the record before this one really needs to get a reissue. They decided to, sort of revamp or rework their sound quite a bit. So they went back to sort of their earlier, not the earliest days, but the earlier days of, around New Gold Dream and maybe a little before that, Empires and Dance and so on. So this is definitely a more synthesizer, electronic album, but it also incorporates what was modern in 1998. This was in 1998, wasn't it? They even got parts of their old rhythm section back. I think both their original, semi-original bass player and drummer joined for this, but the drummer I think left after rehearsals. So Gaynor is back playing drums on this one, but only on one track. So I think there's a studio musician who's the drummer on this album. And yeah, you know, I'm very, very slowly collecting Simple Minds on vinyl. Some of my vinyl are still down in Denmark, so my collection up here is a little sort of... And then there's, like I said, there's at least one album which is near impossible to get on vinyl. And I think it was only released in, like, you know, this was the CD heyday and vinyl was on the way out. So I think it's one German pressing around and several £100 it will cost you, I think. So even though I didn't get this at a record store day event... I had to restart this video several times because there were so many police vehicles, sorry. Yeah, sorry about that. So I'm gonna keep that. Did I pay for it? Yeah, it was on the 479 kroner, so that's currently would be about 49.50 to $50 US. The Norwegian kroner has actually the reason the Norwegian kroner is doing better is you can probably guess why, so let's not go into that. So there's the record without the glare of the old shrink wrap there. And actually I want to show you the CD because it's really nice. Yeah, I just thought I'd show you the CD. It's one of these. It's really cool. I like this. I don't have a lot of CDs in these metal canisters. There's the inner sleeve, no, sorry, the booklet, and the CD in there, like so. Not even a... Yeah, and the funny thing is, I sort of brought out one of my few other CDs in metal canisters the other day because I was talking about space. So this is Tin Planet, by the way, which is also one of these. And from the same year. Yeah, 1998. So someone making these had a big year that year. So back to the vinyl. Very nice there. Song titles are Song for the Tribes, Glitter Ball, War Babies, Tears of a Guy. And side 2 is Superman versus Super Soul, Lightning, If I Had Wings, Killing Andy Warhol, and Androgyny. Yeah, and there's the back. And it's a gatefold. There you are, so there's the lyrics. Yeah, so it was Jim Kerr and Charlie Burchill, and all songs are by Jim Kerr and Charlie Burchill. And Derek Forbes was the former bass player who rejoined Simple Minds for this. And Mel Gaynor also rejoined. I think he stayed for the touring afterwards, but only on one track here, and that's War Babies. And I don't think they mention the drummer who very briefly for rehearsals anyway rejoined. I don't know what happened there. And there is the vinyl. It's very cool, I must say. But I did pick up one other album, and the reason why I'm wearing my Rolling Stones t-shirt, I do still have my old copy of this on vinyl. My Rolling Stones collection is not complete, I would say, on vinyl. Latter day vinyl. So I obviously have their last album, and then we have to go back to Voodoo Lounge. I have that again. I had the original vinyl, and then I moved, and when I got to Denmark, I realized that somehow it must have been the last record I was playing in Oslo before I moved in '95. The vinyl record one of them was gone, so I only had side 3 and 4 in that. So, but I had the older copies of those, and I still have my some of my older ones from my childhood and youth, which are playable, but some of them are not in the best of shape. And one of those that isn't in a very good shape and is still back in Denmark, where either all that stuff will come up here if I ever manage to sell my house, or if I can find out some solution and get my Oslo life finished and move down to Denmark. I don't know. Everything's so up in the blue, guys. But anyway, that's Undercover. And this is the 2020 half-speed mastered audio, finest quality vinyl pressing. Yeah, so there you go, guys. And I really like this album, compared to what came next. But of course, this was a difficult album. Here you have Mick Jagger suddenly being confronted by a healthier Keith Richards, and Mick Jagger, he is really, really into all what the new kids are doing. So I often sort of jokingly call this the Rolling Stones In Excess album, because here they embrace new wave, but you also have reggae, clearly where that comes from, and even hard rock with the new wave. And Mick Jagger, this is his most morbid. There are some lyrics here that are really, yeah. And one sign that there's a struggle in the camp is that there's actually, it says Jagger Richards, but it says /Wood. So it's an almost entirely Ronnie Wood composed track here, which also shows up on the next album, where of course Richard and Jagger pretty much didn't care at all anymore. So and that's on this one, that's pretty beat up. So there you go, guys. Yeah. So it says when you read about this album, and I also remember hearing this when I was listening to the Keith Richards book, is that this is when things started to the recording process started to really not go that well anymore. I'm really happy. 299 krona, that wasn't bad. And this one, because I've been trying to order this from a couple of places in the last 6 months or so, and they ended up canceling on me because they couldn't get it anymore. So this is also the first time I've seen it in any of the record stores around here for a while, so that's kind of why I grabbed it today. So yeah, and of course this is the same as on the front cover, but these things are different here. And then we have lyrics. It's the same thing they did on their previous album, I think. The songs are side 1, Undercover of the Night, She Was Hot, Tie You Up, The Pain of Love, parenthesis, Wanna Hold You, and Feel On Baby. And side 2 was Too Much Blood, Pretty Beat Up, Too Tough, All the Way Down, and It Must Be Hell. So really happy to have this. And there's the inner sleeve, rather odd. I remember tattoo. The inner sleeve was a foot, which like an an animal's foot made to look like a shoe, and that did show up as a vinyl art. No, a single art. I wonder if they had intended it for this as well. I don't know. And there we have the other side. This was also the last record recorded while Ian Stewart was still alive. And he is credited here, yeah. So Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, Charlie Watts, Ron Wood, and I hate whenever I read this because I love Bill Wyman. When I read Ron Wood, bass on Tie You Up and You Want to Hold On. It's like, okay. Bill Wyman, bass, percussion, and Yamaha piano on Pretty Beat Up. Right, so I guess he... yeah, never mind. And this was also the last record on their, distribution deal with Rolling Stones Records over Atlantic Records in the US, I guess, and EMI in Europe. They would be on CBS for a little while after that. So yeah, it's an odd record, but I feel that both this one and Emotional Rescue are among the most experimental and interesting records that the Rolling Stones ever made. For those, I kind of quote Alan Rosenberg, who I also wanted to do a shout out to, is that, of course you love to see the Rolling Stones live, and I have seen them live, but not in a lot of years. And I think one of the reasons, apart from price and the fact that I haven't come to Norway in a long while, is you keep hearing these same 15-20 tracks over and over again, and here are some of those deep cuts that you should have brought up from Emotional Rescue or this one. Play one of those obscure songs from Between the Buttons, which was also, if this was the Rolling Stones In Excess album, Between the Buttons was the Rolling Stones Kinks album, and I don't know, maybe they're not technically proficient enough to do it anymore, but if you could hear Fingerprint File, that would live on one of those live records that they keep pumping out, that would be. And now we're getting 40 licks reissued again, while we're waiting for what they keep saying is an album, studio album coming out this year. So yeah, weird stuff. Anyway, guys, this took longer than I had expected. I hope you enjoyed the trip and a little bit of leaving Oslo on a bus kind of thing, and the record store. They were really nice, and we had this nice conversation and everything. And it was clearly there was a lot of guys, regular guys, coming in there, and there was a guy selling his entire collection of heavy metal CDs while I was there. So there was like 6 or 7 boxes of CDs standing on the floor there. So it looked like a place where a lot of people like me would venture into. So, thanks for letting me film, and thanks for having a talk with me, and thanks for the Garbarek CD that I showed so long ago in this video that you probably forgot about it. So please click like, guys. That helps my channel. If you want to subscribe, well, that makes me happy, and I hope to see you soon in another video. Bye-bye.